Yo, I'm doing class, dog.
Okay, log off then. I have a question. Did Alex said he was giving us permission, like access or whatever, to go on to like, yeah, that. Hello?
Yeah, what?
Kevin, stop being annoying.
The fuck am I doing, stupid ass?
You know how he gave us access to like see like updates on like what's supposed to be done? Would we see an update if I log on to whatever?
Daniel, look at my hat.
Dog.
Mhm.
Forget that.
Look at this shirt right here. I just got this one. Look, hold on.
Yeah.
You looking, Daniel?
Dog slowly go up.
I can't.
I'm gonna wear this at the gym. Trying to get food? What'd you guys get? You guys having a movie night? Oh, let me call you back. What's up? Can everyone hear me? Who can hear me? Man, no one turns on their video, huh? Got a bunch of ugly people in here, huh? All right. Oh, let me try to log into my computer. That's fine. See your cute face. You gotta pay to see my face. Let me know when you guys can see my screen, all right? Can someone tell me where we left off? The indicator on the bottom for flagpoles. Okay, I remember. You know, I would make like slides, but I feel like it's more genuine when you don't do slides, in my opinion. I don't like reading off of stuff. Because then I can just, think of something, and then if something comes to mind, I'll just spill the beans. So, stochastics, EMAs. Let me just show you guys. Let me show you. It's not necessarily on the fly because I know what I'm talking about. The first, like last year, I was doing slides, but then I was like, you know what? It's easier for me to do slides, for example. It's easier for me, not for you, for me. Because I'll just go through the whole slide. I can just if I have 15 slides, I'll just spend 10 minutes on one slide and just stretch it out, Whereas here, it's like I have to keep talking for a whole hour. And if I just, that makes sense. I want to show you guys an old, this is a pretty old swing that we did. Not old, maybe like a few months back. So first, yeah, thank goodness my thing isn't cutting out anymore. That was horrible. What is a swing? What is a swing? A swing is when you hold stocks for more than a day. In this case, we're talking about options, right? You're swinging options, meaning you're swinging contracts and you're holding it for more than a day. So you're holding it overnight. All right. So with plug, this was at the beginning of this year, actually. All right, so all we're gonna be looking at for the first example is just from here to here. What do you guys see here, for example? So here to here. If you can see, just, this is Plug, by the way. If you don't know Plug is it's like a renewable energy company. So what I want you to kind of imagine is back in December or January 2nd. Yeah, no. This was like December 25th, 4th, that week, going to the beginning of January. I don't know if you guys even remember this, but when we were looking at Plug, back then. Look, Plug's already at 75. Okay, first of all, our group, we've been talking about Plug since fucking like $10. Okay, we've been talking about Plug since like 3 people in the waiting room since like $10. So I mean, I never would have thought that Plug would even get to like 70, but we were bullish on it. But if you just go back in time and look at this, what would you have thought at this moment in particular? So this is also, do you guys remember when Biden got, accepted into office, for example? I forgot when did he officially win? Like what day? You know how like he won the thing whatever last year, but when was it official? Because you know how they were trying to just they kept trying to recount the votes, whatever. Do you guys remember what week or what day it was when they officially said, okay, he's president? So 6th or 7th of January, right? It wasn't that recent. It was not that recent. Like it was not that recent. We knew this fucking a while ago. But what I'm trying to say is, okay, first of all, I want to see if you guys know this. What political party supports, the progress of renewable energy, for example? The Dems, right? So not just Plug, okay, everything else, Enphase, Enphase, blah, blah, blah. Why do you think they ran up so much, on the second half of 2020? Because especially when the vote, especially when fucking when Biden was when Biden won the election. Do you guys remember that day when Biden won the election, and then a week after that, a lot of the solar stocks started going up again, right? So Biden has this Green New Deal promise, whatever. So that means we're good for renewable energy, right? In his term, as well as like electric vehicles and cannabis. So this is what kind of helped. This is what also helped drive the price up of these renewable stocks. But as we were coming to this high, okay, Plug didn't have that much. I want to say like didn't have that strong of a catalyst, right? And to think, right, if you go back, if you just look back, right, and I want you guys to give me a comparable stock after I show you this. So we stopped it around 35, so around here, before it completely shot up like crazy. So look, right, before the bigger move even happened, right here. So if you were looking at this, right, here, if you're looking at this, right, what was Plug's lowest point? Remember, this was damn near 2019. Okay? Plug. How much was this? Someone do them. Okay, so right now it's at about let's say it's at 65. Okay? So let's say, you threw in what? $5,000 on Plug, and you bought it at around you know, at the low, let's say you bought it at $1, right? And you bought it at $1, now it's at 65. How much money would you have made if you held through this up until now? If you invested in this when it was at $1? If you put in 5,000, so that's going to be 5,000 divided by 1, right? Which is 5,000. You're going to multiply that by 64. So 320,000. Okay, that's just to give you a little FOMO. Other than that FOMO, when you're looking at the stock at the time, you're like, holy shit, like it's already up so much. We literally went from $1 to 35, right? So to almost 30 actually. So in this type of, you're gonna see a lot of these stocks right now, right? Like for example, you have stocks like VJack or like even CCIV, even GRWG. So maybe SNDL. Maybe SNDL can literally do something like this, right? But my point is like fuel cell, right? My point is when you come to this type of problem where it's like, all right, I don't know what I should do, like if I should hold or not. So there are going to be multiple factors that kind of will help push the price up, right? And it's almost common sense what those factors are, right? For example, right? Amazon during the coronavirus, what were the factors that helped drive Amazon up during the virus instead of it going down, right? Because you know a lot of companies did go like go to shit kind of, but everyone was kind of, it was kind of a no-brainer, right? Everyone's ordering stuff. like like Amazon reports their earnings tomorrow, okay, and they're supposed to have their biggest quarter yet. They're supposed to make $1 billion this quarter, right? And then when you look at something like Boeing during the virus, like no one wanted to go on the plane. Their their shares were literally cut in half over a few months. So you can only imagine how much money they fucking lost. They were at one point at their high, Boeing was at like $400, and now they were, and then at their low, they were at like 87, I think, somewhere around 100. But that just shows you, right? That just shows you that you want to be able to focus on different sectors, but you also want to have an understanding of what's going on around the stock and what's affecting the stock, right? Not necessarily the stock, but what? If you're looking at Plug, right? What the type of, like, what kind of news do you want to see, right? What is the industry that stock is in, is what you want to pay attention to, not necessarily the stock. Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint. Okay, fuck, I can't find, like. Sometimes I get pissed because like I can't find news on Plug. I'm like, fuck, I don't know if it's gonna go up or not because I don't know if I'm looking at the right news. But I was like, okay, well, if I can't find the right news, I know that recently, right? This is just an example. Recently, Joe Biden became president, and he's really big on renewable energy, right? And so that kind of gives you a bias of where the stock might go. You should never have a bias, but if you're gonna be investing into stuff long term, then you kind of have to have a bias, right? Because you want it to go up, and you believe in that company, right? That's why when I was looking at Plug from a fundamental standpoint, it made sense, right? Because of the politics, whatever. Now, right? This is only after you find, right, a good fundamental reason to get into a trade. This is for swings. That's when you want to find the technicals of it, right? When I try to find technicals, literally what I do is I'll go on the 4-hour chart. That's my favorite. That's my favorite chart to look at. Okay. Now, the chart that we were just looking at. Okay, the reason why I like to see the 4-hour chart is because when you're looking at a 4-hour chart, what does this say right here on top? If you guys can read it for me. So I'm looking at the past 180 days, right? 180 days. Now, who can guess how many quarters are there in 180 days? Around 2, right? Now, do you think that looking at 2 quarters is enough for you to kind of have an idea of where the stock is at fundamentally? It's not a trick question. I mean, do you care more about how a company performed 3 years ago versus how it performed the last year? Why should I care about, for example, this is just like just one of the reasons why I like the 4 hour, because it can cover the last 2 quarters of where the stock has been, right? And so I know for a fact that when stocks are trending, especially on the 4 hour, right? Like for example, when people, like if you had a lot of money and you're buying into the stock, right? If you're investing into the stock, are you looking 1 day ahead, 30 days ahead, or a year ahead for your investment? If you were an investor, I'm not talking about a trader. So you're looking at 1 year ahead. And what kind of company is Plug? I'm not talking about the industry, but what kind of company is it? What is it considered? I'm not talking about, exactly, Justin's right. It's a growth company, right? So when you're talking about growth companies, right? Oh, how do I explain this? People like to look for prices that are what? And this is just, if you were an investor, you want to see prices that are what to you? That are not necessarily cheap or low, but attractive, right? Attractive doesn't necessarily mean cheap or low. You want an attractive price, right? And then you kind of think, okay, this company might have a lot of room to grow. Like for example, if you're looking at Enphase, right? I made a post about it today. If I look at the weekly chart of it, look at this. This was in like 2019-ish, early 2019. What was the price at early 2019? Let me see. Let me go back a little more because I think this is only spanning 3 years. But if I put 4, it'll look better. Okay. So this is 2018-ish. Was that around the lowest it was at was 65 cents. 65 cents was the lowest. And then in 2019-ish, it was at around like $1 going into 2020. 2020 opened up at like the lowest. The lowest it hit in 2020 was actually around $20, right? But to be honest, do you guys want to know what I saw this stock at at first? So I was working in solar. I used to work solar. Okay, I used to do sales, and I saw this at the time. SCDG. You guys know SCDG? You guys know how SCDG correlates to Enphase? For example, there's another stock called SCDG. It's Solar Edge, and Solar Edge and Enphase are essentially the same thing because they kind of sell the same product. So if I look at Solar Edge right now, SEDG, right? Just look at the moves. It's like the same shit, right? But if I show you the price back then, so SEDG is actually at 377 now. If I go back a little more, the lowest SEDG was $12. And when I first started getting into solar, and I was like getting into first, I was barely getting into stocks, right? Getting into stocks. It was at around like, I think it was like $15. So around here, somewhere around here. And I would never have thought to invest in this, right? But when you have powerhouses, right? Here's the thing. This is almost common sense too, and this is more into business. So let me tell you guys something about Solar Edge and Enphase, how they are similar to each other, right? So let me do a whiteboard. Who here has a house? Who owns a house? Or who whatever, who has a house? You have a house. Boom, and you live in California. Okay? It gets fucking hot out here. Who here has electric bills in California that are kind of expensive? Say yes. Okay, we'll use Kimberly as an example, right? So Kimberly, you have, you're with your little utility company in your local area, right? So utility companies, right? Utility companies would get really bad names, right? They get a bad rep, right? Because utility companies are monopoly companies, and what they do is, they can charge you whatever the fuck they want, right? So in 2015, okay, and this is something new you guys are gonna learn today. In 2015, there was. Do you guys remember who the governor of California was back then in 2015? It was Brown. It was Governor Brown Jr. Right? So he passed a law, a bill that says by 2030, all of California homes should be powered by by renewable energy. I'm sorry. And then he says and then there was, so this is called Senate Bill 350. And I'm going to show you guys how this relates to the stocks, right? So Senate Bill 350. And then in 2018, there was another bill that says, so this is Senate Bill 100, says that all new homes must have solar panels by 2020. And then within this bill, it said by 2045, all of California will be powered by renewable energy. I'm just gonna say renewable instead of saying solar. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the chart after this, after I explain what these stocks are. Okay, but remember what I just said. The year, the dates that these bills were created. Okay. Can anyone just guess why we wanted to do this? Why California wanted to do this? Why did California want to go renewable? And I'm pretty sure some of you have like solar panels in your house too, right? Because it brings the cost down. Okay. And by the way, right, America, we're not the leading solar renewable energy country. Okay. It's actually Germany. Germany's Germany has solar everywhere, right? Even though they're cloudy, right? Just because it's cloudy does not mean the sun is not there. That's how solar works. It's through UV rays, right? So now you have Kimberly, right? This is Kimberly. She gets her bill is a lot. So then she puts on solar panels. Boom, 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 boom. It looks like shit, but now you have solar panels. Now I'm gonna make something like this. This and this is, can you guys guess what this is? Power. It's like the power grid, right? You guys know how the fucking power grids look, like that, on top of people's houses. So now she has solar panels. Now, in order for her to connect, right? So first the UV rays go here, and then it connects to her, her main panel and shit, whatever, and then it powers up the home, right? Powers up the home. Now, you don't really need a generator. I mean, you can use a generator, but generators are for like if you want to store, like for example, okay, just because Myra said generator. So let's say she uses 2,000, and I'm just gonna use the number 2,000, right? Kilowatt hour, whatever, 2,000 per day, and let's say her system produces 2,000 per day, and she only uses 1,000. Now she has an extra 1,000 of energy. Where do you guys think the energy goes? So the energy goes to the power grid unless you have a battery. If it goes back to the grid, what happens is this is what happens if you have solar. You have a neighbor here. You have Angelo here that lives here, right? You have Angelo. Boom, 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 boom. And who's in charge? Who's in control of the power grid? Who's in control of the power grid? Not Kim. It's not Kim. It's the fucking utility company that Kim used to have, right? PG&E, whatever. If you're in California, still in California. Now, the utility company, they sell it back to fucking Angelo, right? And Angelo's like happily paying. Here you go, right? Not necessarily realizing that he's getting his power from his fucking neighbor that had excess power. So that's how that's how that works. Now, unless Myra has a battery, she can store the battery here. So if, for example, she has fucking her family, her grandma, grandpa, grandson, granddaughter, godson, whatever, come over the house and they use up 5,000, she gets the energy from the battery that she needs because she has all that shit stored in there, right? And so with solar, the solar company tells her, yeah, you're going to be paying $100 per month instead of paying the utility company, 350 every 2 months. And this number never goes up and it never goes down. That's how solar works, right? That's how, and they get like fucking 26%, fucking, they get a 26% federal tax credit. So it offsets your taxes. But anyways, with the panels, you need inverters. So Enphase, both Enphase and Solar Edge are inverters. You need inverters for the solar panels. Okay? You need that. You need them for every single project that you do. So let's say you have fucking now, if you need all of these and California wants to go 100% renewable energy, then are they really, technically they're different companies, but they sell the same product. They're just different. One's smaller and one isn't. But essentially, are they competing? If you really think about it, are they competing? Yes or no? You might think yes, but is it really competing when everybody needs it? It's like the whole world wants chocolates and there's only 2 chocolate dealers. Let's say let's say you only have Ford and you only have Toyota. That it's like that. Yeah, Pepsi and Coke. Yeah, you can say they're competing, but they're both fucking making money, right? Now, if you guys didn't know, Enphase, right? Remember we were at fucking 90 cents, 60 cents. Did you guys know they kicked off? I think it was Johnson and Johnson. So if you guys didn't know, Johnson and Johnson they're big, right? So they kicked off Johnson and Johnson. They kicked them off of the S&P 500, and they actually put Enphase in the top 500 company now, right? So look, now back to the dates that I was talking about, right? Now, if you see here, you would know that I'm not fucking lying. So this was, pre 2018. This was before 2018, right? So then, 2018 came, right? And then we just started going nuts. Same thing as Enphase, right? Pre 2018, we didn't really start gaining traction until 2019. And up here. Now I said by 2020, a lot of homes. Now by 2030, by 2030, 2045, right? A lot like everything in California has to be like renewable. So this is why something like Enphase, right, was such a good investment, because of what? Why was this? And you can always take this away too. Like you can use this, what you learn right now, to and apply it in the future, right? But essentially, if you were looking from 2 years ago and you were thinking about solar and you saw all these fucking these government bills coming out with these new laws that's supposed to take place within the next 5-10 years, then you kind of you should understand that, okay, in 5 to 10 years, then the stocks should go up, right? So if you can think of any, what industry can you guys think of right now that might be a big thing in the next 5 to 10 years? Realistically. All right. Now you guys say this, but are you invested into these stocks? Right? Some of these are like common sense. Right? With the whole weed thing, I hate when people ask me if these weed companies are good long-term holds. Right? I mean, all you got to do is just find one of the biggest companies and just keep it there. Right? I think for example, obviously the internet with the whole, selling shit online, e-com, that's going to still be a big thing. Weed might be, right, but there are a lot of weed companies now, drone delivery, so a lot of things, right? I think that we're getting into a period of time where there are a lot of, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but there are a lot of exciting things that are going to come into like fruition in the next 10, 15 years. And right, especially when you have something like the fucking stock market, it just gives you fucking free money and ride it up, right? I think that's a powerful wealth building tool, right? It's just that since we're day traders, we get fucking caught up in what's happening. We literally get caught up in what's happening every single day, and it's like a lot of noise. But I think that and that's what I'm kind of leaning towards right now too. Of course, I'm not gonna stop day trading, but I'm starting to think more long term, because sometimes, like for example, right, if you just kept that 5,000 in end phase, let's say you day traded end phase every single day for the past 3 years, right? Versus just putting money in there and leaving it, how much more would you make? I mean, what would you make more on, do you think, realistically? Would you make more off of the day trades or the long term? When you're just investing into it long term, on the bright side, like the pro of it is that you're like you're less tied emotionally, right? Because it's more like a buy and hold, right? You're less, for example, let's say you bought 1,000 shares, right? You bought 1,000 shares at $1, and now it's at fucking $15, but you still believe in the stock, right? Don't you think it would be dumb to sell everything? Like, don't you think it would be stupid? Obviously, even if you don't know if it's gonna, because you never know if it's gonna go up or down, right? End phase could have gone to fucking zero for all we care, but it would be kind of dumb if you bought it at an average of $1 and sold everything at 15. But what people do is, people can just take some out, right? Maybe buy some more in the next dip, right? Because because everything is already in profit by then, right? But when you're looking at end phase now and it's at $200, you're less likely to start investing in this long term, even if it can hit $1,000 in the next 2 years, which it can, right? But then again, we let's say we fucking fast forwarded 2 years and we think about this day, and you're like, wow, we literally talked about this 2 years ago. Now end phase is at 1,000. I could have bought fucking 100 at $200. I could have spent my money. I could have made money. That's how this fucking shit is, right? So it's like either you buy it or you don't. Okay. With the technicals that I use for end phase, right? So with all of those things that I mentioned to you, understanding everything that was happening around the stock in terms of the industry, I saw that it was at essentially it was at a high, right? Essentially it was at a high right here. This was its high, right? And this is when I, I'm only using this as an example because this is the actual trade that we took, right? This was the actual trade that we took. But essentially, when you're swinging stuff, when you're looking to swing stuff to the upside, you want to at least find a week of support, right? Where do you see in this chart, was there a week of support? where in this chart do you see where there was a week of support? Are we talking about here, here, here? So 1, 2, or 3? So remember, we were looking at this from the high. So this is not support. This is what? This is resistance, right? I'm talking about when we swung this, right? So this is going to be that week of support. So you want to find a stock, especially if you're looking at a stock that's been at its highs, right? You want to find at least 1 week of support. Why 1 week, right? Because if this support holds after 6 days of it continuously trying to sell off, what does that tell you? That tells you that either people are buying these dips or the buyers are moving or there aren't enough sellers at the same time, right? So after you find that week of support, right, what you want to try to do is you want to try to see if the stock is in an actual range, right? You guys see how this stock is in a range right here? I'm going to make this gray. You guys understand how this is a range? So you want to find stocks that are moving in a range, right? So a range is, you have a top and you have a bottom, right? Now, once you have that, once you know the stock is in a range, meaning it's what? So if you're looking at a stock that's in a range, it means that it's essentially consolidating. So if it's consolidating, then it's prone to have a move, a breakout, right? Either to the upside or to the downside. It depends. Depends where the last candle lies, right? So what I mean by that is, right, if you have something like this, right, then you want to essentially what you want to do is you want to trade either the candle that sticks out of here or the candle that sticks out of here. Okay. And one more thing that I want to tell you in this example is there was a couple of factors that, and I actually signaled this, if you were in my group fucking 3 months ago, you would have seen this. But one thing that I want to show you is which of these candles was essentially a candle, or which one of these days in this box was the day where you're like, okay, we can potentially see a nice up move in terms of a breakout. What day? Someone said Friday. Why Friday? Why was Friday a good day to kind of, no, well, yeah, it's Friday, but it's not the wick. Let me zoom in. It's not the wick or the EMA cross. There is one thing that you need to look at to help you gauge whether there are a lot of, demand, essentially. So the volume, right? If you make a line, if I make a line here, right? If I make a line from this volume bar all the way, let me move this. If I make a line here all the way here, essentially, there were more volume that day than the last how many days? Right? Over a week. Now, you have the volume and you also have a candle that tried to break out. Okay? It tried to break out, and this is more likely, this probably happened like as the market opened and then we sold off a little bit, but then we regained the traction here, right? So other than the volume that you look at, okay, you want to focus on, for example, where the momentum shifts, right? So here in this example, I would like to see, for example, the momentum shift before the volume comes. If that makes sense. If the momentum shifts before the volume comes, what does that tell you about the sellers? Exactly. So the sellers are getting weaker, right? I want to find points where the sellers are getting weaker. So the sellers are getting weaker here, right? And then the buyers started to step in here, right? And then you have the EMA cross happening at the same time, right? But obviously, there are multiple ways to take a trade like this, right? There's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on your risk tolerance, right? It all depends on your risk tolerance, right? For example, you could have entered this trade if you were swinging this, right? You could have entered the trade here. You could have entered the trade here. Or you could have been safe and you could have entered the trade here. I mean, you could have been even more safe and enter the trade here. Does that make sense? Now, this is for swings, like what I like to see in terms of the momentum indicator on the bottom is, so you guys know how like at first when I showed you guys this indicator, people were saying that, if the red line is above the blue, it's considered what? What were people saying at first? If this red line goes above the blue, it's what? It's overbought. Well, if it's overbought, then that means, right? If I follow my line here, then that means this candle was considered overbought, right? But it kept going up. Okay, it kept going up. And why was this not a swing signal for the downside? Because it crossed, right? People were trading the crossovers. Why don't I enter a put here? Why don't I enter a put here? Nothing else indicating it's getting bearish, right? Because this strategy that I'm showing you is what? Can someone guess what this strategy is? It starts with an S. Starts with an S. Nope. What is another word for your? What is another word? If you have a PS5, what is that? What's another word for a PS5? Starts with an S. It's a systematic. It's systematic, right? So what does systematic mean? Systematic means there has to be, A has to happen first, then B, then C, and then you fucking go in. Right? You don't just go skip to fucking B and go in the trade. Okay? You want to make sure A happens, then B happens, and C happens in that order. So it's systematic. So that's the strategy with the stochastics, the EMAs, and the volume at the same time. It has to happen one after the other, or else don't take it. So, for example, with plug, when we took the plug trade here too, so can anyone guess essentially the correct order for this system? What is the correct order for the system? So it's not necessarily channel, but it's I like to see pattern. Pattern's number one, right? So pattern first, right? Because you want to find a potential breakout. After pattern, then what? After pattern, then the shift in momentum, then the EMA, then the volume, right? Sometimes the volume and the EMA will be on the same day, but essentially, if you have all these three, right, going from pattern to momentum to cross to volume, you more than likely have a highly profitable probable trade. Does that make sense to everyone? Remember, this is plug. We're not even looking at end phase anymore. Let's look at Amazon today. So Amazon today, so this is the pattern that Amazon's been fucking on for forever. Okay. You know, I thought we were gonna see a breakout like ASAP Rocky, but I guess we're not yet. So if I'm going to the 4-hour chart, if I'm going on the 4-hour chart, what do you guys see? Damn it, I fucking did this. Forget you saw that. So this is Amazon right here. Right? You have the shift in momentum here, right? It's in a pattern. It's in a pattern. Okay? Definitely in a pattern. Then if I kind of look back, let's go make the support. Let's go make the support levels real quick. So if I'm gonna make the resistance and support for Amazon right now, here. All right, fine. All right. Now you have the levels. First, you want to start, obviously, like I said before, you start off with the 1 week. Okay. So now we're breaking out of this Amazon pattern. So you have this, right? You have this. You have this. And we're breaking out of the pattern. Now, there's something with Amazon that you want to be careful of when taking this. When I took this swing today, I was very fucking hesitant too, because it's risky as fuck. Can someone tell me why this shit was risky as hell? I actually bought 30 shares of Amazon today, right? Amazon's at fucking 3,300. I bought 30 whole shares for like 90. I have 3 contracts of Amazon. They report earnings tomorrow, right? If they don't wow, then my positions go pow. Right? So if they don't go wow, then I'm gonna pow. But essentially, this is the only setback that you should be concerned of when you're taking swings on a trade, is if there is a potential catalyst that can be detrimental to your position within the next, however long it is until your contract expires. Does that make sense? If your contract expires this week, then yes, tomorrow's earnings is detrimental to your trade, right? If you had bought Amazon, yesterday, and you bought like 6 months out, then your contract wouldn't be as detrimental as it would be if you bought it for this week. If Amazon didn't have earnings, then I would be more comfortable jumping into this trade, because I know that there isn't, unless something really bad happens and something comes on, then something gets posted about Amazon in terms of bad news or something. But other than that, if there is no earnings, then I shouldn't have a problem swinging into this trade, because I believe in the strategy. I know that the strategy works, and I have time on my side. Now with this system, I can use like a 30-minute chart or a 5-minute, right? But my personal favorite for this is when I like swing stuff, because what is so good about swinging trades? Swinging trades is so good because you have time on your side, right? Because that's what you're betting on. You're betting on the stock to go up in time. You're not betting on the stock to go up right now. You can, okay, and also when you're swinging, like for example, if you already look at stocks by now, you should know that a lot of stocks move when they make really big moves as well. When, at what point during the day, right? In the morning, like pre-market and after hours, they can move. So the nice thing about swinging is like you can capture those after hour pre-market moves, right? So that's one benefit. It's just when you're swinging stuff, right? When you're swinging, then you essentially you're putting on that whole premium as risk, right? Someone asked, what when you're swinging, how do you know what strike to choose, right? How do you know can someone answer this question? How do you know what strike to choose, for example? I mean, if you give yourself a month, let's say you give yourself a month on something like Apple, right? And in the next class, we're going to talk about ATRs and stuff. But let's say Apple moves like $3 a day, okay? Let's say Apple moves $3 a day on average. Now, if you're going to choose a contract that is a month away, which option would you choose? Would you, if it's at $100, would you choose the $100 strike price, the 105, or the 110, for example? It's a month away. You can choose the 110, right? It's out of the money and it's cheaper, right? And you're gonna make more as it gets into the money. You're gonna make more, right? Especially when you have that much time. There's no reason for you to buy. There's no reason for you to buy a strike that is so expensive, right? Because what you're saying is, when you're trading options, right, you want to buy Apple for $110 a piece, but it's at $100, but you're giving yourself a whole month. And that's only if you exercise your options, which no one ever does. So where does theta come into play when we buy such long calls? Did we go over this, guys? How theta works? Did you watch the previous video? Time decay won't affect your monthly option until about the last week or last 2 weeks. And this is another question. When doing support and resistance, do you do it based on the wick or the body of the candle? What did we say? The answer to this was, there you go. On the first class, I removed all the indicators. What are the most important indicators on how do I reinstate? So essentially just you can just put on what we've been using right now. If you look at my screen, you go to studies, edit studies. When you go in here, want to type in MOVAVG moving average exponential. So let's say I delete these two, right? If you want, if you want two of them, oh shit, that's the wrong one. This one, 1, 2. So you click it twice, and what you do is, you see how they both say 9? You just leave one at 9, and you click the settings, right? Once you click the settings, it'll direct you to this, and then you click the number, double click it, put like 21, change the color because the original color is gonna be blue. Click OK, and then click apply, and then it'll show up, right? For the bottom one, the stochastics, all you gotta do is type in what it says here, stochastic slope. We're not gonna go over the other indicators today because I want you guys to try to use this for now. For homework, all right, this is what I want you to do for homework. I want you to try to find, so don't ask me what stock to look for. I want you to try to find it yourself, right? So look at this website that I'm showing you. I just typed it in. You can go on these two websites. If you have no clue about what stock to look at, you can just go on these two and look at the most traded stocks or the highest volume stocks, and you can just swift through the website. If you've never been on the site, you should definitely go to it. Okay, go to that site, see, and then what I want you to try to find is the same setup that we have here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, what I want you to do is, you don't have to trade it, but I want you to kind of, because I want to see how this plays out, right? I'm not fucking just telling you bullshit like, oh, I can just show you strategies that has happened, and I'm just picking and choosing, the times that did happen. No, I want you to try to see it for yourself to see if it does happen or not. Right. So you get more comfortable, because I'm more like, if I was learning, I would want to see it for myself. Like, I'm not gonna just fucking go off of what someone said happened fucking a year ago. Right? I want to see it happen for myself, and then I'll kind of trust in it. But I want you guys to try to find stochastics, volume, cross, and kind of see the can you explain the momentum shift, guys? Did I not explain the momentum shift like last time, or like two classes ago, when I first put it on? I'm not gonna just put it on and not tell you what it is. So just rewatch it. But you guys got the homework, so I want you to pick 5 names, okay? 5 names. 5. You can spread it out in different industries. You can choose, like anything, as long as it has this. If you absolutely can't find the indicators aligning like this, then that's fine. I'm not gonna force you to do it. You half of you probably won't even do this, but just trying to get you better. I like EMAs better because it reacts better to the price. So I want like, you can post it if it already formed or if it's forming. It's up to you, because it's not a lot of names will have this type of setup. You're not gonna go through fucking 10 stocks and all of them have it, more than likely. If you do, then that's great. But I'm gonna end the class here today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm enjoyed today. Have a good rest of your night. Make sure you guys make your watch lists for tonight. I'll be sure to upload both of them tonight at the same time. Got a lot of shit happening. Bye guys. Laters.